Pero sana hindi natin i-impose sa kanila kung kailan nila dapat gawin, kung paano nila dapat gawin. Kasi may different steps of reclaiming eh. Pwedeng internal pa yon, baka pinaprocess pa nila, baka hindi pa nila fully napoprocess. So hindi pa sila ready to even address it at the institutional level or mag-report, ganyan. So, kailangan, yun, totoo na hindi natin sila dapat pilitin. Kasi I doubt naman na hindi sila nagpapa-encourage, ganun.
Kamusta na kayo mga kasama?
Gusto mo bang makilahok sa aming usapan tungkol sa progresibong bayan?
Halina, sundan niyo kami sa aming chikahan.
Student Council Alliance of the Philippines presents
USCAP Tayo,
USCAP Tayo,
the podcast.
Welcome back mga kasama. Welcome to our 8th episode of USCAP Tayo, the podcast, where we bring awareness to various topics to society. For this episode, we will focus on this year's campaign to end violence against women entitled Sangtuwaryo para sa Estudyanteng Pilipino. I am Christian Jake Beltran, the current Secretary General for Luzon of Student Council Alliance of the Philippines, and I will be your host for today. Medyo kabado ako ngayon talaga, real talk, at medyo malungkot ako kasi mag-isa kong nag-host this today. But I'm with 3 empowered women who's going to talk through our topic. So without further ado, nang makapagkamustahan na tayo, let me introduce ang una nating makakasama. Ms. Anna Cubacub is a human rights advocate and third-year BA Political Science student at UP Diliman. She is the current Communications and Campaigns Committee head of UP Babaylan. She is also one of the founding members and the current creatives head of Tasha Movement, an anti-sexual harassment organization led by alumni of St. Teresa's College, QC. Ms. Anna has been leading projects and campaigns that promote LGBTQIA+ rights by organizing community events and fundraisers for the community within and outside of the university. She co-headed the recently concluded UP Pride 2021 in its historic as the first ever system-wide Pride event of the University of the Philippines system. She also co-headed Here for Queers, the International Day Against Transphobia, Homophobia, and Biphobia 2020 event of UP Babaylan, and Icons for Icons, its corresponding fundraiser. Mga kasama natin ngayong hapon si Ms. Anna Cubacub.
Hello po.
Hello po.
Hello, good afternoon.
Ayun, good afternoon po. Kamusta po kayo, Ms. Anna? Kamusta po ang inyong December 11, 2021 so far?
Happy naman. Glad to be here and makakontribute sa discussion on vow. Ayun.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad to know po na okay kayo today. And now, ang pangalawa nating makakasama is a 4th-year anthropology major in the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She served as a counselor and the Finance and Special Projects Committee head for 2 years in the UP CSSP Student Council. She was also the Internal Affairs Committee head of UP Anthropology Society and the Vice President for Internal Affairs of Buklod CSSP last 2020 to 2021. She took on a Deputy Director position in the Philippine International Model UN last 2019. Wow, international level. And is also a member of AIE-SEC in UP Diliman. She was a sectoral organizing intern in the office of Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan. Last year was also the Sanctuary Projects Policy Research Consultant. She is currently the convener of Botante Muna, Botante Una, Buklod CSSP's initiative that aims to engage with voters regarding their rights and responsibilities as part of the electoral and governance system. Ayon, mga kasama, grabe, ibang level ang mga kasama natin ngayong araw. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Regina Buco.
Hi everyone! Hello sa mga nakikinig today. I hope you're having a great day.
Ayun, ngayon pa lang po, pasensya na po kung medyo nabubulol ako sa mga ano. Pero, ayun, Miss Regina, how are you po? Kamusta rin po ang inyong December 11 so far?
It's been great. I've been having back-to-back events today, pero super honored to be able to talk about gender and violence issues today since it's so important na we really take the time to discuss issues na madalas hindi gustong pag-usapan. So again, super glad na I have people with me today that are also very accomplished in their own ways. And for you then, Christian, super excited ako for you, our host. So yun lang. Thanks everyone!
Ayun, excited din po ako and glad po ako nakasama ko ngayong araw kasi yun nga, I mentioned earlier na honestly ako po, hindi po ako well aware or educated regarding our topic. Kaya super happy po ako na kasama ko kayo para matuto at yung mga kasamahan po natin. At ang huling kasama natin ngayong araw is a staunch advocate for safe spaces and a women's rights activist. She is in her second year in UP Diliman taking up BA Business Administration and Accountancy. She served as the Education and Research Head of the Sangtuwaryo Project, UP Diliman Chapter, and a legal first aid responder. She currently serves as the External Counselor in the College of Business Administration Student Council. Mga kasama, si Miss Jaira Del Mundo.
Hello, hello. Magandang hapon.
Yes, magandang hapon din po, Miss Jaira. Kayo po, kamusta po ang araw nyo? Kamusta po ang December 11 nyo po?
Medyo malamig dito ngayon sa amin. Pero so happy to be here. So happy to be able to talk to these amazing women about issues and of course, push forward the advocacy for safe spaces.
Yes. Can I ask po, may I ask po kung personally magkakakilala po kayong tatlo? Because you're all from UP Diliman. Are you friends?
Yes po, magkakilala po kami.
Yeah,
Somehow.
common acquaintances at best. Si Anna, we came from the same high school. Tapos si Jaira, same friend circle. So it's really fun and since I'm older than both of them, it's been really rin. I've been super proud to be honest kasi ang laki ng growth nila from the past years I've known them. So go girls!
Ayun, happy kasi magkakakilala po kayong tatlo. So reading your credentials, na-amaze po talaga ako sa mga accomplishment nyo. Ngayon po, pwede po ba akong sumali sa circle of friends nyo?
Laban. Laban.
True, go lang!
Go.
Welcome ka!
Ayun, need po ba ng membership form sa squad nyo?
Hindi naman.
Yes. Okay, let's proceed po sa ating first topic. Since you are in the same school naman po, magkakaiba po kayo ng colleges? Like, ano po bang tawag sa iba't ibang ng department ng UP Diliman? Is it colleges po? Or
Different pa siya. Like, the departments are like your majors. And then the colleges, they house departments. And then the university houses colleges. So, ganon. It's like one big happy family, I guess. So, pero different, I believe different courses kaming lahat.
so let's just talk about generally na lang po about UP Diliman. Okay, so I'll just ask, what's the current situation of safe spaces in UP Diliman po? Miss Anna?
Tungkol sa safe spaces, of course, well, generally, 'di ba, parang sinasabi na ang UP Diliman, very progressive. So, like, maraming mga tao na from different walks of life na talagang parang kino-consider university as their safe space where they can express themselves and be who they are. So, I guess mako-consider na UP generally is a safe space. Although, syempre, hindi lang naman dapat dun magtapos ang everything and we still have to lobby for a lot of stuff like sabihin natin UP so GSC policy, mga ganon, and stricter implementations and system-wide implementation ng TGNC guidelines para maging safer space pa siya. So, ayun. For the others naman.
Miss Regina, meron po kayong additional?
I think I'd have to concur with Anna on this one kasi the idea of safe spaces naman, it's always evolving, it's very dynamic, and what we used to consider a safe space back then might not be the same now, especially if we want to be more inclusive, more diverse, and more accepting. Usually kasi mas talaga heteronormative yung spaces back then. So if you were like a cis hetero man na madaming privileges, more than safe any space for you, not just UP Diliman. But of course, because we recognize that that's not the situation for everyone and everyone's really different and very diverse tayo as people, we have to continuously work towards creating safe spaces for each person, not just in a university, but different education institutes. So, ayun.
Yan, thank you so much, Miss Regina. We're happy to know na super ganda. Ayun, na super positive yung current situation ng safe spaces sa UP Diliman. And Miss Jaira, would you like to add po?
Ayan. Dun sa sinabi ni Anna about lobbying for more inclusive policies, syempre, pasok na din doon yung patuloy nating pagbabantay sa mga sexual harassment cases and making sure na nabibigyan ng justice yung ating mga victim survivors. Kasi part yon ng pagbibigay natin ng safe space sa mga estudyante ng UP Diliman. And of course, for other educational institutes as well, na kailangan magkaroon tayo ng codified na means to protect students from harassment, from abuse, and making sure that these policies are strictly implemented.
Thank you so much po, Miss Jaira. If you are going to rate po from 1 to 10, which is 10 is the highest, yung current situation ng safe space sa UP Diliman, ano po yung may bibigay yung grade from 1 to 10? Miss Anna.
Wag mo ako ipa-start. Charot. What if yung iba muna? Charot. Kasi i-rate. Kasi parang nung nag-start ako sa UP, pre-pandemic siya. So iba yung nadatnan ko nun. Tapos iba rin now na nandito na very digital yung yung spaces. So I guess ngayon na digital yung spaces, for me, as in personally, hindi naman ako super duper na expose. So like masasabi ko na somehow 8. Pero in general, for the LGBTQI community, where I identify from, and like, ayun, kung ano yung nire-represent ko na org in this talk, for us, syempre, meron pang i-improve yun, kaya nabigay ko yung 8. Kasi ang dami ring issues, and like, issues na hindi nila nafe-feel na safe, even in this digital setup. So, ayun.
Thank you so much, Miss Anna. How about Miss Regina? From 1 to 10 po.
Grabe, ang hirap ng 1 to 10. Very concrete number. Honestly, since I've had experience both digital and pandemic, same yun. Sorry, on face-to-face classes and remote learning, seeing both sides of the coin just showed me how harassment and violence can take up in so many forms. Which is why I feel like 7 is probably the highest grade I could give UP. That I feel like that's already being generous because a lot of times, like Anna said, there's always so much room for improvement. And nakakalungkot pa kasi sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you, namely school administrators, people in position, they're often the ones defending those who make the spaces unsafe. that cause impunity in the community. So nakakalungkot lang siya because as much as I genuinely love being part of the UP community, I can't even say that it's completely safe. I wish I could though, and that's what we're hoping to do then naman with initiatives like these. So yeah, that's for me.
Oh, thank you so much for that genuine answer, Miss Regina. And finally, Miss Jaira, from 1 to 10 po, kung i-rate niyo po yung current situation ng safe space sa UP Diliman.
Ayan, compared sa kanilang dalawa na na-experience yung face-to-face, ako purely online na nagsimula sa UP. So, yun pa lang yung experience ko with the university. Kaya, medyo limited pa rin yung view ko sa kung anong nangyayari talaga on ground. Pero as of now, from what I experience, I agree with the 8. Kasi yun nga, may room for improvement, especially since even the online space can be a place of harassment, can be a space na hindi safe for students. And we can already see this through cyberbullying, attacks on our cybersecurity, etc. na nararamdaman talaga ng students even now. Kaya masabi natin na even the online space ay kailangan din natin ng safeguards. Kaya may room pa for improvement dun sa score na binigay ko.
Ayun, thank you so much, Miss Jaira. Ayun, so nakakatuwa lang kasi it's very, yung safe spaces, it's very, very talk about sa school nyo. Kasi sa ibang school kasi, hindi siya masyadong nabibigyan ng pansin. And yung ibang students, they are not that courageous para mag-open up sa mga na-experience nila kasi they are afraid sa possible na consequences sa mga sa kapalit nung if nag-open sila. Ayun, with that, I think we can proceed na sa ating second topic. Ayun, kinakabahan pa rin ako kahit ilang minutes na tayong nag-uusap. Pero wala din ako masyadong input. Kasi na-amaze din ako on how you talk, ganun.
It's okay. You can drink water if it helps.
To be honest, medyo, oo nga, parang hindi deserve yung 8. Sa totoo lang, Mi, parang hindi deserve yung 8.
Ayun, may deduction pa atang magaganap na yung
Hindi naman, pero kasi, like, marami talagang mga bagay na hindi na-address, especially when it comes to issues on safe spaces. Lalo na hindi pa na-discuss yung mga other forms of, yung specific forms of violence na very prevalent in UP. So, ayun.
So ayun, nabanggit niyo na po yung iba't ibang kinds ng violence. Can you enlighten us po? Kasi ako, what I know is yung emotional violence, physical violence, economic, correct me if I'm wrong, may economic violence. So yun lang po yung alam ko. Kasi honestly speaking ulit, personally, naririnig ko lang po yung yung violence against women, pero hindi po talaga ako ulit. So ayun, so help me po. So we need to reiterate yung this topic sa mga katulad ko na hindi po fully educated. So can you enlighten us po sa different kinds ng violence? Miss Regina.
Okay, I was gonna say go Anna since she brought it up. I can start naman. I think, and I'm not sure if tama hula ko, pero more of intersectionality of the different kinds yung pwede kong ma-add. Kasi, for example, I'm not sure if I can say the name of the school nga, pero since I brought it up naman kanina, in UP, unique yung situation namin because fraternities are existing within the system, and that's a very unique thing when you compare to other universities that are also well known kasi wala namang fraternities in their institutions, and it makes our situation different because these fraternities are very prominent, not just within the university, but also in so many aspects of society, from civil society, government, healthcare, lahat na nandun sila. So it's hard to be proactive and really take concrete actions when and call out these fraternities when they've committed grievous actions and violence and harassment within our institutions, when they themselves are part of the administration, in creating policy and implementing laws. So doon nagkakaroon ng specific unique circumstance yung Diliman, UP Diliman, in terms of fighting violence and harassment in our school. I think though that it really helps that organizations such as the one Anna is representing and yung projects and initiatives ng organizations naman nila Jaira is really vocal about this, because a lot of times people are really scared to even bring up the name fraternities. Like just to say that, hey, I actually if parang I'm pretty doubtful that super good intentions lagi ng mga organizations na to, people are already scared to say that. So what more to actively point out that this is not acceptable, this behavior of talking awfully about women, about degrading the LGBTQ plus community and even other minority sectors. Sobrang acceptable yun in their own circles, but it shouldn't be. And as students of our university, we're taught to be so much better than that. And yet, it goes as if wala silang masamang ginagawa. So, ayun, just the very impunity, like nature of its impunity talaga, nakaka-frustrate as an advocate of safe spaces, because the space shouldn't just be safe for them to to talk badly. It should be safe for everyone to live, regardless of who they are, what their identity is, and their culture, religion, or anything else that make up who they are. So yun, medyo hinog ko na yung airtime, no? So go Jai or Ira. Ano?
Miss Jai?
Yan. Sa discussion naman ng different types of violence, it's good na you mentioned yung economic violence kasi it's super rarely talked about. Kasi kadalasan when we talk about violence against women, we hear physical violence, mental, emotional, and even online harassment is usually talked about. But we sometimes forget na yung may aspect din of economic abuse. It's when a partner or a person intentionally cuts off financial support, and it leads you to not be able to function properly or not be able to afford basic necessities, etc. So that's one form of violence na I wish was given a little bit more attention to. Pero as students naman, it's rarely I don't know if I can say na it's rarely experienced by students, pero it's not as common compared to the other things that I've mentioned earlier. But I just wanted to give highlight to that. Yeah, that's it. Go, Anna.
So nasabi na ni Ate Reg yung FRV, like frat-related violence. So very prevalent siya, and ayun, parang nahihirapan i-address kasi yung mismong people na nasa power ay they come from the same fraternities. So ayun, and it's parang yearly halos nagkakaroon ng issues on them So tas walang nangyayari every time, or at least walang super visible na steps na tinitake or walang redress na nakukuha from reporting, or ayun, parang kapag magrereklamo ka about it. And marami pa ring mga taong affected greatly nung violence na yun. So, ayun. Other than that, other than FRV, of course, meron ding discrimination and harassment na nafe-face online, which are yung hindi pag-respect ng pronouns, ganon, ng preferred honorifics ng people by professors themselves. Medyo nakakasad kasi, di ba, parang laging sinasabi ng mga professors, they're also duty bearers. Pero parang hindi nila na-fulfill yon yung for their own students. So, ayun. Wala na akong iba pa masyadong maisip na forms of violence at the moment. So, yeah.
Regarding po sa correct addressing po dun sa prefixes, how can we able to ask po or meron po bang proper way on how to ask the person kung ano yung preferred prefix niya po? Like ako kasi kanina inassume ko lang po na all of you are Miss or ayun. So meron po bang proper way on how to ask or ano po ba yung tamang approach namin if ever na may tatanungin kami for their proper or for their preferred prefix?
Usually just ask. Kasi kunwari ito, very podcast siya. So, parang necessary na malaman, di ba, kung ano yung honorifics na dapat i-address ikaw. So, you can ask kasi necessary naman siya in the agenda or the event. And for ano naman, academic purposes, usually may ibang professors na very progressive, they would ask talaga sa kunwari, magpapasa ka ng mga index cards, ganyan. Tapos i-ask niya kung anong pronouns mo. So, good yon. But, hindi lahat kasi ganon. So, ayun. Pero, pwede naman i-ask yung pronouns and honorifics ng isang tao kung necessary siya talaga dun sa conversation. Or if you wanna know, you can tell them kung ano yung pronouns mo and yung honorifics mo, and then you can ask na parang, hey, these are my pronouns, ganyan-ganyan. I would like to know yours. Para parang nilalatag mo muna yung safe space for them to open up or so that they can trust you enough or be comfortable enough to tell you kung ano yung pronouns nila, ganon. So, ayun.
Ayun, thank you so much po, Miss Anna, for that very comprehensive answer. While researching po kasi kanina, I've read about the battered woman syndrome, which is, correct me if I'm wrong po, this syndrome po ba is only applicable po sa mag-asawa or mag-jowa, or can we apply it also sa mga student? Like, can we call them battered student syndrome? Ayun po, I mean, kasi what I know, yung battered woman syndrome po is yung kahit pinapahirapan na po yung girl, hindi pa rin po niya maiwan yung kasi yung partner niya. Can we also apply it po sa student na kahit pinapahirapan na po siya, is hindi niya po maiwan yung person na yon? Ayun po.
For me lang, I'm not really super knowledgeable on this aspect, but from what I've read and encountered, it's kind of hard to equate them similarly kasi very specific yung circumstances ng wife and husband and yung romantic partners, because there's a sense of emotional codependency, tapos power imbalance between the two. Not saying that there's no power imbalance between universities and students, but iba yung nature niya. So, usually iba rin yung reasons ng students why they can't leave their educational institution or hindi sila makalipat to another university. Pag partners kasi, a lot of times, nabanggit ni Jai, pwedeng economic reasons, like if they leave their partner, sinong susuportahan sa kanila when they've been gaslit into abandoning their friends, their families, anyone who could have been a potential support system if wala silang jowa or husband. But for universities, students can be forced to stay maybe because they have a scholarship, maybe because nandun lang yung mga alam nilang support system, maybe nandun lang yung course nila. So, medyo iba yung reasons and medyo iba rin yung dynamic. But I could see though, bakit there is some sort of connection na staying even though it's not healthy. And a lot of times, we really can't blame the victims in these situations kasi sobrang, it's a systemic problem and they've been rendered helpless. So, nawawalan sila ng will nor ability to really take action for themselves. So I think that's for me. Baka the rest can add pa.
For you po, Miss Jaira.
Adding lang dun sa sinabi ni Miss Regina, it's a systemic problem. Sobrang nagpapatong-patong kasi yung odds against victim survivors a lot of the times. For example, mahirap mag-report to different institutions, and sometimes they even turn them away. Even sa VOW help desks mismo, they're sometimes turned away, saying na, oh, baka magsusorry din yan kinabukasan, or normal lang yan, etc. And this comes from centuries long na mindset na this is how it's supposed to be, of this culture of misogyny, of abuse, na okay lang siya yung pag-normalize ng aggressive behavior within partners. Kaya sobrang stacked against victim survivors yung odds. Kaya ang hirap mag-report minsan, kaya nagsistay na lang sila dun sa situation. Same goes for students naman na yung odds then stacked against them, since, for example, sobrang tagal nung process ng pag-report sa UP, for example, umaabot ng years yung mga cases before magkakaroon ng resolution. So, dun sa years na yon, kailangan mong ulit-ulitin yung story mo to different people, to different bodies, different panels. And that can be really traumatizing in itself. Bukod pa dun sa trauma mo, magkakaroon ka pa ng panibagong trauma with repeating your story over and over again to different groups of people, hoping that you find justice or hoping you find a resolution. So, ayun, talagang problem din siya within the system itself.
Ayun. So meron naman pong mga student po na ayaw magpa-encourage, like syempre as a concerned student din po, gusto mong mag-open up siya sa mga mag-open up siya pero ayaw niya pong magpa-encourage. What's your stand about it naman po? Like, kailangan ba pipilitin pa rin po ba natin siya, or let's just respect his or her decision po na to stay quiet?
I think I would have to say na kailangan natin respetuhin kasi at the end of the day, it's their story, it's theirs to reclaim. So whenever they're ready, we can only parang be there for them, be the support system that they need. We can parang hindi naman mawawala yung pag-encourage kasi concerned din naman tayo for their welfare. Pero sana hindi natin i-impose sa kanila kung kailan nila dapat gawin, kung paano nila dapat gawin, kasi may different steps of reclaiming eh. Pwedeng internal pa yon, baka pinaprocess pa nila, baka hindi pa nila fully na po process, so hindi pa sila ready to even address it at the institutional level or mag-report, ganyan. So, kailangan, yun, totoo na hindi natin sila dapat pilitin. Kasi I doubt naman na hindi sila nagpapa-encourage, ganun. Kasi of course, kailangan nila nung support from their friends and yung support system nila. Pero kailangan natin respetuhin na may oras. Parang oras nila, at their own time, dapat sila mag-come forward when they're ready. Ayun.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Anna kasi we always have to put the victim first above everything else. Kasi alam mo yun, no matter how much na we want comprehensive yung database natin, na up-to-date yung mga records natin, that's not really at the welfare of the people who were hurt in the first place. And that should be our first priority lagi. So, this is also something I learned as a policy researcher kasi during my time in Sangtuwaryo na madami talagang cases, not just in the metro, kasi I studied a specific area, it was Samar and Cotabato, in educational institutions, and sobrang daming cases na na-share sa amin, and yet so many of them also don't want to report for various reasons. So you always have to communicate with the people involved in the first place. Hindi pwedeng pala decision ka na you're gonna take the steps from them, take action on their behalf, even though it's not their desire. Kasi hindi na, at the end of the day, hindi naman pa rin ikaw yung aggravated party, no matter how frustrating it can be to just feel like you're just watching things go. But sometimes victims need the processes they have available to them so that they could slowly report it at the end of the day. Sometimes a lot of people never do, and that's also okay. Again, it's their decision to make, and it's not something we should be forcing anyone into them.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Anna and Miss Regina. This question naman po medyo personal siya. Like, paano po kayo naging advocate ng safe space? Have you ever experienced this kind of violence, or you are just being influenced or something else po? So paano po kayo naging advocate ng safe space? Miss Jaira po muna.
Ayan. For me, it was more of a personal decision, since I myself have been through those things, have also dealt with trauma, etc. And those things are not necessarily I want to talk about now, pero with those experiences, I was able to realize na this is something I need to do for others, since I wasn't able to receive it on my end when it happened to me. So that's how I came to be an advocate for safe spaces, because I want a world that's safer for everybody else.
Miss Anna.
Hello. Feeling ko naman gets to ni Ate Reg. Pero same kami ni Jaira na na parang yung decision to be an advocate of safe spaces ay nagsistem from what I have experienced before. And like, ayun, parang, di ba, parang hindi naman mapagkakaila na we are all products of our parang experiences. So, before kasi nung high school, so ayun, nung high school, syempre, parang coming from an exclusive all-girls school, masyadong maraming restrictions and unnecessary policies that would not directly come off as discriminatory or homophobic or sexist. But they are, in essence, kapag babasahin mo. Actually, ma-realize mo lang siya kapag alis mo na. So, yun yung nag-push sa akin na maging advocate for safe spaces. Kasi, parang I wouldn't want parang institutions that we call parang second home, ganyan, na maging unsafe because of policies that shouldn't even be there. Parang ganon. So, ayun, basically nag-decide ako maging advocate or like mag-push for or mag-contribute sa pag-lobby and pag-push for safe spaces because of like what I have experienced na dapat hindi naman na-experience ng kahit sino. So, ayan.
Miss Regina po.
I think the commonality the three of us share is that it's primarily born out of personal experience. And I think I cannot tell you a single woman who has not experienced harassment of any form, even just catcalling. Literally all women I know have experienced that. And isn't that alarming? Kasi literally all of us just want to cross the street, tapos ma-disturb pa kami in the middle of our day just because of whatever thoughts ng catcaller. And it's just really sad. I think mine was the combination of so many things around my environment. From relatives na walang boundaries, yung sasabihan ka lang ng really creepy things. Even as a child, that you only realize is actually pretty wrong years later when you're quite older na. Or your educational institutions that teach you things that make you hate yourself. But once you've been removed from that environment, ma-realize mo, that wasn't a valid reason to think of myself that way. Di naman mababawasan yung pagkababae ko if I don't sit this way, if I talk this way, if I laugh this way. Babae pa rin naman ako. It doesn't reduce the value of my person or, the way other people would treat you. For example, harassment occurs in so many microaggressions to really just flat out aggressions. If someone gets blackout drunk and they get harassed, that's not their fault. Maybe getting drunk was not a good decision on their part, but no one really asks to be harassed or groped or whatever else when they're drunk and cannot remember anything. So the combination of so many things in my life has led me to the same realization as Jai, that it's not okay, that this is what's norm, that I literally don't know anyone who hasn't been harassed as a woman. And I'm sure so many men as well, since sobrang taboo for men to admit they've also been harassed. And this is not something we should just let sit while we live our lives, especially if I know something about it, that I can do something about it and at least help contribute in the efforts in combating the normalization of this kind of mentality, because it shouldn't be normal and it shouldn't be our everyday. So yeah, it's definitely always personal for a lot of us.
Yes, thank you so much for that sincere answers, Miss Jaira, Miss Anna, at Miss Regina. With that po, Miss Regina, can you share us what are the preparations and lobbying needed for a Safe Spaces Act?
I think for this one, since we have to first recognize that there's already a national legislature, so yung Safe Spaces Act, and sobrang thankful again to advocates in the government, such as Senator Risa, super really appreciative of people like her and our fellow advocates that make sure that these issues are given spotlight. Kasi a lot of times, isipin lang, hala, yun po ba uunahin? When we have so many other pressing things on our plate, when in fact, it does matter, because um, paano tayo maging productive as a society if we allow brokenness to be the norm, if we allow discrimination to be what's okay and what's usual. So the implementation of Safe Spaces Act in local situations, they always have to be consulted, kasi mahirap yung gagawa ka ng piece of policy or legislature tapos bababa mo na lang bigla sa mga stakeholders. Usually, the best way to proceed with policies like this, or anything really, is you consult with the people on the ground in the first place. And I think siguro si Anna and Jai could add to this in a little bit. First, when you create policies, alamin mo muna any situation. Like, kailangan ba ng policy na to in the first place? And when you establish that, then you proceed. What are the specific provisions na dapat nandun? Dapat protektado lahat ng aspects of when you're gonna center it in a educational institutions. Hindi lang siya dapat going to class, dapat the campus itself, dapat the online spaces involved, even extracurriculars, mga sports, debate, whatever honors, accomplishment, lahat yun dapat kasama din, because you're also representing the institution. And all of these nuances, even down to the language, if papansinin nyo, yung mga policies in schools and governments, lahat sila usually in English. And okay, we all understand English in this call, but not most of Filipinos, even though they can speak it, if you read it out to them in just English and policy English, sobrang hirap for them to understand and comprehend those legislatures. And that's not a good thing. So that's why when we were writing our policy analysis paper, then that was one of our recommendations, that we make sure understandable yung language na ginagamit in these policies, because what's the point of implementing policies kung yung involved naman na stakeholders di naman nila naiintindihan anong pinagsasabi mo, and it's just gonna be ignored, sayang pa time and effort and resources used to create this piece of legislature. And I guess I'll leave the rest na to except aside from this thing na we just really have to make sure updated din kasi hindi naman pwede na, okay, you made this thing once, tas yun na yun forever. No, people are dynamic and situations are always dynamic. So you always have to make sure that lagi mo check, okay, applicable pa ba to? Are there changes that need to be made na? If yes, then you repeat the process. It's a tireless process, to be honest. Lagi kang mag-effort to make sure that people are made to feel safe. But if that's the price we have to pay for safe spaces, then I think it's more than worth it because no one deserves to feel unsafe in any, location in our society. Kasi no one wants to feel excluded naman. So we have to make an effort to make sure that everyone's part of the safe spaces we're creating. All right. So ayun, I think ano na, go Jai or Anna.
Ayun, I agree with that, Miss Regina, that no one wanted to be excluded. Kasi me personally, I hate the feeling of being, yung hindi ako belong, the unbelongingness. Yes, Miss Jaira, would you like to add po or?
Ayan. Adding dun sa sinabi ni Miss Reg about people being dynamic. Every year, there's new things that we discover. There's new things that we add to the movement. Like, for example, years ago, mental health wasn't even a discussion that a lot of people have. But now we're having more and more discussions and discourse on mental health and mental health awareness. So we have to incorporate those new concepts into the policies that we're creating. Kasi a lot of harassment policies do not include trauma response or psychological help for the victim survivors. And those are needed, especially since that event or whatever happened to them is very traumatizing and can affect their mental health and how they perceive the institutions they're in, how they interact with their environment. So with that, we also have to recognize that trauma is unpredictable and it can manifest in whatever time of day, sometimes years later. And what I've noticed in a lot of policies, they have a cap on the amount of years since the event happened before you can report, that you can report. So for example, I can't necessarily report something that happened to me 10 years ago or something in under a lot of policies. And I think those should be removed because like I said, a lot of the times people haven't processed what happened to them or are too young to distinguish that what happened was something bad. So we have to constantly make adjustments to these policies or these laws so that it can incorporate new concepts and make it more inclusive for everyone. So yeah.
Miss Anna?
Ayun, siguro like I agree na parang na marami pang i-improve and kapag kasi you've lobbied for like a law and it became a law, you don't just stop there. Parang continuous lobbying siya until it becomes localized in every locality, like institution man siya, university, municipality, barangay. Kailangan niya ma-localize kasi that's when you know that this certain law ay naa-apply. So I guess kahit napasa na yung Safe Spaces Act, it was a big step. Kailangan pa rin siya ma-apply and ma-lobby continuously sa iba't ibang institutions. So for UP kunwari, meron din naman tayong ASH code, ganyan. Pero siguro need pa rin natin maging much more open for new policies concerning like other minorities within the university. Like yun nga, nasabi ko kanina, yung system-wide, so GST policy and TGNC guidelines to make sure na safer space pa siya even for these people. Tapos, ayun, for sure naman, hindi pa super comprehensive nung redress mechanisms, katulad din ng nasabi kanina ni um, Jaira, na hindi complete yung services. Like, ano lang siya, somehow medyo ano lang siya, punitive justice. Like, hindi siya restorative in a sense for the victims. Like, totoo naman na, okay, ni-report mo, nakasuhan, what's in it for you? Like, yun lang ba yung hustisya? Syempre, kailangan mo rin tulong to process it, counseling, and all that. So, ayun, kailangan siya ma-localize, kailangan pa ng more comprehensive mechanisms and processes in addressing yung nire-report. Ayun. And hindi talaga titigil ang lobbying once napasa na yung isang batas. Ayun.
Ayun. Thank you so much, Miss Regina, Miss Jaira, and Miss Anna. So there we have it, mga kasama. As much as we want to ask you more questions po, and as much as we want to know you more, but our time is limited for this afternoon. Dear speakers, is there anything else you wanted to cover up po? Miss Jaira naman po ngayon.
Once again, thank you so much for having us. We think it's very, very important to have these kinds of discussions, especially in different platforms, so it can reach more people. And we hope that with these discussions, unti-unti nating ma-normalize yung pag-discuss about harassment, about safe spaces. Kasi for some places, it's still taboo to talk about these things, so that people won't be afraid anymore to come out with their own stories and their own advocacies. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Jaira. Miss Regina, kayo po, is there anything else you would like to cover up or promote?
Wow. Okay, guys, follow me on Blank Char. No, but I think for me, I just really want people to embrace the idea of being an advocate or being an activist for causes such as safe spaces, because a lot of times activists get a bad rep that it's a really scary thing to do. But as a matter of fact, because this kind of issue is so prevalent, that so many people we know are affected by it, we shouldn't be afraid to take up space and to talk about these kinds of issues. Because our experiences are valid and we're all important and valuable people. So our hurt shouldn't be just something we hide from the rest of the world to fester into something bad. We should make sure that just, hopefully my listeners ng podcast na to, they get to hear sentiments that they're okay if they can relate to this kind of issue, then they're valid. Yung naging pain that such an issue has caused them is important and that they matter, then it's important, because a lot of times we're not even given the space nor the time, the attention, the platform to talk about these kinds of things. But they matter, they really do. And I am so thankful na, more and more people I know in my circles and even those beyond are making time and allocating resources for it as well. And I could only hope that this is just the beginning for so many of us, that when we're the people already that are being talked about, wow, or at least the people that are making part of the changes we hope to see in the future, that hindi na ganun ka-grievous yung situation, because we're really just doing this for the betterment, not for ourselves, but for the society around us. Because we all deserve to be seen, heard, and I think that's a really good way to do so. So yeah, that's for me. Follow me ulit on Blank Char. And
Thank you so much, Miss Regina. And Miss Anna, is there anything else you wanted to cover up or promote?
wala nang promotion kineso. Gusto ko lang sabihin na thank you for this opportunity and salamat din sa pagbigay sa amin lahat ng platform to talk about our experiences as advocates and why we're fighting for these causes. Salamat. So yun, salamat. And sana marami rin ma-inspire na mag-join with us or maging advocates of their own to fight for what they believe in, the causes they believe in. And ayun, sana maging continuous nga yung lobbying natin and pag-hold natin sa institutions ng accountability to uphold safe spaces policies within their localities and their respective institutions. So, ayun lang. Thank you.
And so we are also thankful po for having the three of you today po to discuss this matter. Thank you po for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for being an advocate, for continuously championing safe space po. Ayun, so thank you so much sa ating mga kasama. Pakaabangan niyo po ang mga susunod pang podcast ng Student Council Alliance of the Philippines. Again, I am Christian Jake Beltran. See you when I see you. Thank you so much po, Miss Jaira, Miss Regina, and Miss Anna.